So my greedy mother-in-law, she fakes a leg injury, says that she broke it, and makes up all these fake doctor notes and these x-rays. I don't know where she got them from. Well, it turns out I left something at home, so I turned around to go back to my house where she's staying, and guess who I see walking to the refrigerator? That's right, my mother-in-law, not using crutches, not using a wheelchair, using her broken leg. Well, I decide I need to get some evidence of this, so I do this.
What would you do if something you've been avoiding all your life comes back with a bigger mess? That's exactly the situation I'm in since my mother-in-law Agatha has been living with us for the past few weeks. I'm Bianca, and I might have presented myself as a typical daughter-in-law who hates her mother-in-law for absolutely no particular reason. But that's far from the truth in my case. Agatha has given me enough reasons to avoid her and not want any type of involvement from her in my life. But wishes can't be granted so easily, can they? So after years of avoiding her, Agatha was finally back into our lives when she showed up at the doorstep some weeks back with suitcases around her and driver right behind her wheelchair. Yes, Agatha showed up here all of a sudden in a wheelchair with a broken foot. And that shattered all of my hopes for a peaceful life. So yes, you must be thinking, how awful for the poor old lady to be so helpless, right? And how cruel I must be to be so bitter towards her even in the time of need. Well, it turns out the injury Agatha has been using as an excuse to stay with us for the past couple of weeks is fake. And it made me crazy mad when I found out about it this evening. You can imagine the rage I had after all these weeks of tolerating her crazy tantrums that all of this broken foot crap was just a lie. I think in my fury, I'm getting ahead of myself. I should give you guys a bit of context, shouldn't I? About the whole thing, so you can just understand the situation, and so that you can get why this is driving me crazy. So my husband, Luke, we got married 3 years back, and we met through some common friends at a party. And we just hit it off. So after a year of dating, we decided to tie the knot as both of us felt that we were ready to settle down. Everything was going perfectly smooth. After the wedding, I shifted into the mansion where Luke lived with his mother. I did not seem to have a problem with Agatha living with us initially. You see, Luke's father passed away when he was just 3 years old, and since then Agatha had brought him up with so many troubles that she faced as a single mom. So when Luke told me that we've been living with his mother since he won't want to ditch her responsibility now that he's married, I did happily support his decision. I mean, it seemed harmless to me, as till then I had no issues with Agatha. I actually liked her, since she was very kind to me when we met each other before the wedding, so I thought it would work out well. It did actually work out for the first few weeks until Agatha started showing me her true colors, as the crazy control freak that she was. It all started with a few taunts here and there about my clothing, the way I cooked, my office timings, but I ignored all of it, thinking it was nothing too serious. But slowly it got worse than just some harmless taunts. Agatha would commend me around the house and make me do all kinds of silly stuff, like making sure that all her clothes were categorized according to the colors, and asking me to paint an entire wall of the house just because she wanted another shade of pink. And when I would ask her that she could just get it done by some servant, she would tell me that she needed the personal touch. And God forbid I tell her that I was busy. She would throw tantrums about what kind of wife her son had chosen for himself if I could not even fulfill the basic request that she made. Eventually, she'd spice these things up by saying that I disrespected her, and tell all of this to Luke. And Luke, like the innocent family man that he is, conflicted between his wife and mother, would try to sort the matter since, well, he did not want us to fight. That actually meant telling me to abide by her things since they were just harmless wishes. So for some time, I put up with this. I thought that Luke might be right and we were just fighting for something completely silly. So I tried my best to keep Agatha happy. But all of us have our own limits, and mine reached its zenith when Agatha did something completely crazy. After 8 hours of work and then coming home only to run stupid errands for Agatha, the only peaceful time my day was the night when I could sleep soundly, but she had to go and ruin that too. So one night, when Luke was out of town for a business conference and it was just us in the house, Agatha banged at my door like a mad woman. I'd woken up with a jolt thinking it was some emergency, and Agatha wanted my help to find out that she wanted ice cream, since her tooth hurt and wanted me to get it from the store. Yeah, I know, can you guys imagine how crazy it was? It was illogical to eat an ice cream when she has a toothache. But that sounded crazy, right? But what sounded even crazier was that she wanted me to run to the store at 2 a.m, just to get her a dang ice cream cone. This was after I had already given her some medication for her toothache. Call me crazy, but just flipped me in some way. I instantly knew that I could not live with her anymore. I just couldn't take any more of Agatha hovering over my head all the time while I was trying to live a peaceful life. But this was not all. After ruining my sleep that night, she had to trouble me some more. The next day, Agatha crossed all the limits. That was my cue, to get her as far away from my life as I could. I hosted a work breakfast in our mansion the next morning with all my colleagues in attendance. Agatha had already affected it by ruining my sleep the night before, as I had to get up early and was too sleepy to make the proper arrangements. But I still tried to make sure that everything was perfect. As for Agatha, she did not just stop at ruining my sleep, she had to ruin my work breakfast as well. So that morning, Agatha embarrassed me in front of all my colleagues, calling me an irresponsible daughter-in-law and whatnot. She just kept insulting me in front of everyone, even after my pleadings to her to not make a scene in front of my colleagues. But she continued with all the insults and yelling, and you asked the reason for it? It was all just because I shut the door on her face last night, refusing to get the ice cream for her. Yeah, she made that crazy scene all for some silly demands that I did not fulfill. I was literally so humiliated that I had to cut the breakfast short and apologize to my colleagues on her behalf. You can imagine my embarrassment, as this incident had resulted in me being the talk of the office for what? A week straight? So, if you ask me, yeah, that would be the last straw, huh? Well, I talked to Luke right when he came home that evening, and I told him that I've had enough of his mother's crazy tantrums, and it's time that he decided whether he wanted to live with his mother or his wife. It took a lot of convincing to Luke to actually take some action against the whole thing. Luke asked for a couple of days from me and got Agatha shifted to their old house, which belonged to Agatha after her husband's death. He also hired a full-time caretaker for Agatha so that she was well taken care of and all her needs and wishes were met on time. Obviously, Agatha was mad by the change. But Luke explained to her that it had to be done, and he visited her every other weekend. Some of you might call me cruel for distancing Luke from his mother, but as guilty as I felt for doing that, it just had to be done for my mental peace. Every single thing was just going well for months. We were living peacefully, and it seemed even Agatha was eventually satisfied with the arrangements as Luke visited her ever so often. Luke also gave her a monthly allowance for her basic needs, and I, on the other hand, only saw Agatha on family events and so on. Well, it was nothing to complain about, and I was happy to have her as far from me as she could be, and I felt things were finally getting back to normal, and I could now focus on my own family. But all of it changed just a few weeks back. So Luke had missed the weekly visits to Agatha for 2 weeks in a row since he was busy with his new project. He was planning to visit her the next week, but before he could, Agatha presented herself on our doorstep with all her stuff and a driver strolling her wheelchair. You can imagine my surprise when she showed up like this completely out of the blue, without even informing us before. Call it fortunate or unfortunate that Luke was present at the house at the time Agatha showed up. So she told us about how she had broken her foot tripping in the bathroom, and the doctor had advised her to rely on a trusted family member, just to take care of her instead of some caretaker. So she was here with the only family that she actually knew, though Luke had absolutely no objections to her staying with us for some time. I could not shake off the weird feelings that I was getting from this. I wouldn't even blame Luke for trying to take care of his mother when she was in need of it. But something did not add up to me. Like, if Agatha was here only for some days to recover from a broken foot, why would she bring the whole truckload of stuff that she owned for a few weeks? But then I just overlooked it, since I didn't want to be the cruel daughter-in-law who wasn't even ready to help her mother-in-law in her times of need. And then it all started all over again. Agatha's crazy tantrums and silly demands. She had a broken foot, and yet she wanted me to make time to take her shopping. In other words, she wanted me to drag her wheelchair while she spent hours deciding on the shade of lipstick that she wanted. Naturally, I didn't have time for all that. But yet she forced me to try to get to Luke's head and just guilt trip him about the same. So all in all, after trying so hard to be rid of Agatha, I was once again stuck with my monster-in-law. So I spent the last few weeks sacrificing my mental peace and sleep trying to fulfill all the crazy demands that Agatha could come up with. So you can imagine my anger when I found out this evening that all this while she had just been faking her leg injury. I had been out for work, but this evening I returned a bit earlier than my usual time. I don't know what I was trying to find, but I just wanted to see what Agatha was up to while she was all alone in the house. I just wanted to kill the weird feeling of suspicion in my chest that something doesn't add up about the whole thing. I went to great lengths to go ahead and catch Agatha on whatever she was doing in our absence. I even parked my car blocks away so that it would not give away that I was home. And then quietly I made my way to her room, and there it was. Agatha standing and walking in her room effortlessly. I was shocked, and I knew I should have recorded it right then and there so that I had some proof against her in front of Luke. But I was too shocked to even think about it. So this is what led me here to write this. I know that if I confront Agatha about this, I'll tell Luke about her lies. She'll just weave another web of lies to cover it up, and Luke, being the doting son that he is, won't even question it. So I have to come up with something witty to expose Agatha for the lying witch that she is. Also, another thing I don't understand is why Agatha's doing all this. Just to be back in our lives? It just seems too extreme even for Agatha. That's why I wanted other people's opinion on the same thing. I don't know what I should even do. I know I just can't go to Luke about this straight away unless I have a bit of solid proof. Also, before revealing all of this to Luke, I want to find out the reason why she's doing all this. So guys, suggest to me what can I do next to expose her, or how can I find out she's doing all this? Any suggestions or advice would be really welcome. Update number 1. Hey guys, so it's been 2 weeks since my original post, and you guys won't believe the things I found out in those 2 weeks. So I finally found out why Agatha has been faking her injuries and has been living with us all the time. But before getting into it, I would address a few comments on my post. So for the people who are telling me to dump Luke just because he's a mama's boy, you must be missing the fact that the guy has chosen me over his mother in a situation where I knew it must have been the toughest decision for him to make. The only reason I can't just go straight to him with the truth that Agatha has been lying to us is because as much as he loves me, he also cares for his mother, and I need to respect that fact as well. So, you haters can keep your mean suggestions to yourself. Now for the people who asked me for the medical reports, I kinda took your suggestions, but in my own twisted way. After finding the truth about Agatha, I just wanted to get any sort of evidence against her. So, I took the first opportunity that came to me, and 2 days later, Agatha mentioned going to the doctor's clinic for a checkup. And when I suggested to accompany her, she just tells me that her caretaker, Jenny, the one Luke hired for her, can accompany her there. Yes, days after shifting with us, Agatha had also called her caretaker into our house, and she's been just living here for some time now. It was weird to Luke too, but he just brushed it off, saying he doesn't mind anything that makes Agatha happy. I guess Jenny is also in on Agatha's crazy plan, and might just be a ploy so that none of us can figure the truth out. So, like any person desperate for evidence, I decided to follow Agatha, and to my surprise, instead of the doctor's place, Jenny and she went to a lawyer's office. I obviously could not go inside, so I had to wait for them to get home to try to get something on why they were at the lawyer's office. But I could not get another opportunity to find it until the morning when Jenny was on the day off, since she had some family emergency, and Agatha was in the dining hall having her breakfast. I made it look like I left for the office, but I had the back door left unlocked. It was a very risky plan since I could have been caught at any point, but I took it. I took the risk. I went to Agatha's room and snooped through her things, and guess what I found? Documents about the sale of the house that Agatha owned. Basically, the house that she's been living in. That explained why she was there with all of her stuff. And before I could be any more confused about the reason why she had to sell the house, I hit the jackpot, guys. Turns out that Agatha, being caught off guard since she thought that she was alone in the house, had also left her phone in her room. And there I found out that all this chaos was happening because of a guy. Yeah, Agatha's dating some guy, and apparently she sold the house and she wanted to gift him a luxury car for his birthday. So she came up with this whole story to fool us and live here rent-free. As crazy as it sounds, this was the truth. And obviously her caretaker Jenny was in on it because Agatha had promised to pay her a hefty amount for it. I know what you guys are thinking. I could have straight gone to Luke with all this evidence and my point would have been proved. Then what am I doing here writing this update, right? Well, though I took the pictures of everything from the house sale document to the text between Agatha and her lover, Matt, it was still my backup proof, and I have something else in mind, guys. I do. Something a lot more fun than simply revealing Agatha's lies. And for all the trouble that she put me through, she doesn't deserve to let go so easily. My plan might be a bit risky, but I guess the outcome would be worth the risk, and so once I put my plan into action, I would write another update to let you guys know how things are. Let's hope that it all goes well. Update number 2. Hey guys, I know I'm writing this sooner than any of you expected, well, sooner than I expected at least, but I just can't seem to keep calm. So, as I told you 2 days before that, I was planning something crazy to expose Agatha to her darling son. I finally put the plan into action. It's a crazy plan, I know, and I might fail and backfire on me at any point in time, but I'm willing to take the risk just to teach Agatha a lesson in her own language. So let me tell you guys what I came up with. Some of you might call me absolutely crazy, but I had to do this twisted story, so. This morning, while Agatha was in the shower, and Jenny was with her helping hand, I just used Agatha's phone to text Matt for a rendezvous over at our mansion. I told him that everybody was going to be out of the house for 2 days, so they would have the whole mansion to themselves and could meanwhile enjoy the luxuries of the mansion for free. And as expected, Matt, to be a gold digger from his crazy luxury car demands, he took the bait and agreed to come. What he didn't know was I had invited him at the time when the family lunch was scheduled. Basically, we're having a little get-together this afternoon to celebrate Luke's promotion. Most of our extended family and some of our friends would be there, so this would be the perfect chance to expose Agatha and her crazy lies. I know, this is a very crazy plan. It might falter at any moment. Though I deleted the chance where I executed it. I was still skeptical that Agatha might talk to Matt at any time and find out the truth. So my backup was this. It was Luke's cousin Deanna. She had arrived early in the morning, so I asked her a no-question favor to keep Agatha busy. She's been doing a pretty good job till now, as Agatha had not had the time to check her phone all this while. Well, the lunch is in an hour and everything seems to be in place. I just hope Deanna can keep Agatha busy until lunch and everything goes well. Initially, I was planning to write you guys once the plan is executed completely. But I'm kinda losing my calm worrying about my crazy plan. Well, I got myself to blame for that, so I'm here, writing this just to calm my nerves a bit while I wait for my plan to fall into place. Let's just hope it doesn't backfire on me and it all goes as planned. Update number 3. Hey, I'm back. You can probably tell how excited I am by the way I'm writing. Well, whatever happened in the past few days has been absolutely crazy. And for those of you wondering if my plan worked or not, it did. It worked wondrously, better than I could have imagined even, because there was so much more truth to be exposed rather than just lies that Agatha offered to us. So, it's been a few days since that eventful lunch that we had unfolded with all the drama in our house. As my plan, all the guests have arrived on time, but I was just waiting for a particular person. Matt. Matt was running late. When he did not show up even a half hour after the decided time, I started to get worried that Agatha might have reached out to him and told him the whole thing was a ruse. But after around 45 minutes, things started to look up for me as Matt decided to show up. You can imagine the shocked look on both Matt and Agatha's face as Matt stood there. Matt was shocked because he was expecting an empty house rather than a family lunch, and Agatha, well, after all, she wasn't expecting Maddie here, of all places. But there was one other person who was beyond shocked, my husband, Luke. I was confused when I saw Luke get up from his seat and rush to Matt and hold him by his collar and ask him what the reason why he was here. It made no sense to me, and I think it made no sense to Agatha as well, because she just rushed to get Mac out of Luke's hand. Well, in her panic, she might have forgotten that she was supposed to have a broken foot. The woman did not even limp, but straight away leaped to the place where Matt and Luke were standing. The fury on Luke's face just turned into confusion as he saw his mother standing there perfectly all right. After a few moments of Agatha trying to get Luke away from Matt, the truth behind Luke's anger was finally revealed. Turns out that Matt was an ex-employee in Luke's company where he was fired and blacklisted from the industry because of his misappropriation of funds. Thus, Luke was furious about why this guy would be at his family lunch of all places. Well, I cleared no doubt for Luke. I just went ahead and told him how Agatha was dating Matt, and he was the sole reason why she lied to us about the broken foot. When the truth was finally in light, Luke was in disbelief and disgust at the lies his mother told him. He just stormed off from the house in anger, and he also took Matt with him and threw him out of the house, warning him to stay away from his family. Matt flew away from the whole thing the first chance he got, while Agatha kept asking him to stop and talk to her. I guess all this time, Matt has just been using Agatha for the money. But I also believe that he could have also done that to get back at Luke for firing him and ruining his career, because Matt didn't seem shocked by the fact that Luke was Agatha's son. That only meant that he knew. However, he left before we could ask him all this, and I was kinda disappointed by the way Luke just stormed off. Call me evil, but I was actually expecting some more drama and fitting punishment for Agatha. Well, she did get it the next morning when Luke returned. So we can't call it absolute disappointment, so the next morning Luke just came back and packed all of Agatha's stuff and sent her to an old age home. Well, where she's living right this second. She's been trying to call me to get her out of there as she was having a hard time getting used to the living conditions there. But I'm having none of it. She's finally out of my life for good, and I intend to keep it that way. My life is finally getting back to that peace without Agatha or any of her drama. Well, I could get used to this life, so I hope she stays away so me and Luke could finally get back to our lives. What would you do? Update number 4. Well, I might have spoken too soon. It's only been about a week since my last update, and Agatha already tried to create havoc in my life only to have her plan backfire on her. So this morning, Agatha shut up at her doorstep while Luke was not at home. Tired of her insistent banging on the door, I finally decided to open up the door to her, only for her to try to attack me. As soon as I opened up the door, Agatha started abusing me for being a homewrecker and stealing her only son from her. She kept on going on about how I ruined her life since because of me, her son as well as her boyfriend left her. I merely told her that both of them had left her due to her own actions. Luke, because, Agatha lied to him, and Matt, because, Agatha's choice to trust him blindly and sell her house for him was so questionable. So she herself was the reason of why she ended up in the trashy old age home. When I stated this to her, she just lost it and lunged at me. I just tried to defend myself, but one thing led to another, and Agatha ended up tripping on the porch stairs. She fell down with a huge impact, and I rushed her to the hospital, and guess what? She broke her foot for real this time. I mean, it's crazy how karma works, isn't it? She lied to us about the broken foot, which landed her in the old age home all alone, and in an attempt to back into our life, she actually ended up hurting herself. I don't know, call me evil, but it's kind of ironically funny. After she broke her foot, Luke visited her. She tried to convince him to bring her back to our house, but Luke was way beyond trusting her again. So, just like this, she ended up in a trashy hospice on the outskirts of the town. Luke is paying the bills, but he's not ready to let Agatha back into his life. The lying witch dug her own grave for herself that day when she decided to betray her son's trust. I know, it might be a bit cruel on my part, but I'm glad she got what she actually deserved. I guess this will be my last update on the story, so I want to thank you all for sticking by my side.